on celluloid. Mahatma Gandhi remains one of the most photographed and filmed persons in the world. The camera loved him and followed him like a shadow throughout his life. Yet, despite being a public figure, he never chose to use the newest form of art cinema for propaganda, remaining steadfast in his belief that it was a bad influence. Yet, he remains a muse for filmmakers all over the world. Our next author is a living encyclopedia on the Mahatma's depiction on screen. Shri Prakash Magdum, the Additional Director General of the Press Information Bureau, Gujarat, and an officer of the Indian Information Services batch of 1999, was formerly the director at National Film Archive of India at Pune. Mr. Magdum has also served in various states for media units of the central government, including Assam and Kerala, with a tremendous experience in the media sector. His work as a registrar FTII and director NAFAI has enriched the cause of preservation of cinema footage, stock, and peripherals. Magdum has also been a defense spokesperson in Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala and has written numerous articles on film preservation in essential publications. The moderator for our session is Dr. Ruta Dharmadhikari, a college teacher and head of Department of English at LAD College, Nagpur. She is patron of Vidarbha Literary Festival and a member of Cinemontage, the oldest film society in central India. She runs her college campus film and book club, mentors students on public speaking, event management, soft skills, life skills, and entrepreneurship. A lover of handlooms and handicrafts, she loves to go on textile trails across India. She has worked on select directors of Indian parallel cinema for her doctoral thesis. Without further ado, I request Dr. Ruta Dharmadhikari to usher Shri Prakash Magdum onto stage and let the session begin.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a hard act to follow after Kishore Kumar, and thank you all for being here. But I am so delighted to be able to moderate this book that you see in front of you, The Mahatma on Celluloid. It is such a well-researched book. It is such an important book for our times. There has been so much of the father of our nation in our lives. If we have been born in this century or the earlier one. And the Mahatma is a constant presence, not just in India now, he is a global presence. So you cannot escape the Mahatma. And having a book on his representation on nothing other than the most important medium today, cinema, is a hugely important work that has come out from the ex-director of the National Film Archives of India. So, a big welcome to you, Prakash Magdum, sir, to the Vidarbha Literary Festival. And let me congratulate you on your first book. It is his debut book. Sir is also has been the registrar at the Film and Television Institute of India, FTII. He is now additional Director General of Publicity in Gujarat. Sir, he has refused to give me any other details than this. So let us begin with that. So what made you turn to this particular subject, and how did you come to write about the Mahatma?
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for having me here. This is my first book as well as the first literature festival I'm attending in. So I'm really glad to be here. Well, as you rightly said in your initial remarks that Gandhiji has been, a constant presence in most of our lives. It could be through textbook, it could be through pictures, it could be, his photograph on the currency note. You name it. There is this entire kind of imagery, that is there around him. So, and obviously you read his writings, you have read his autobiography. So yes, it's there. But this particular kind of approach, I would say, is a unique one, because there are thousands of books written on him, but not through this particular angle. And The idea came in 2019 when the entire world was celebrating 150th birth anniversary of Gandhiji. And that time I was heading the National Film Archive, and we also did, some events, commemorating the occasion. We put up poster exhibitions. We did some film festivals, and I was part of the, curation team. And that's where I realized that, here there could be more to this subject, because, as you may know, there is this sweet paradox that Gandhiji didn't like cinema as a medium, but he is one of the most film men in the world, and that kind of attracted me to this particular topic, and I started researching, and then I realized the kind of footage which has been filmed on him when he was alive, and till now, as you are aware, there is a movie released just now of Gandhi and Godse. So this fascination, in the industry about a man is what kind of prompted me to trace that linkage, how he has been portrayed, what are these portraits, how it was done, and all those things. And this is what, this is the result of this entire journey.
Thank you. Wonderful. And I believe Sir hails from the district of Sangli. And his first brush with cinema, or with Gandhiji also, was when he had gone to see a movie or a film in the tent cinema theater when he was young. And that was because the school took him for this film show. And that was in 1983 when he first saw Attenborough's Gandhi. So, and since then, Sir, on every 2nd of October, he makes it a point to watch Attenborough's Gandhi. And because he's been doing that, he has understood with every viewing subtle nuances which came about in the making of that movie, as well as the making of the Mahatma, which Shyam Benegal later on took up as a project. And he has made a film not about Gandhiji in India, but of his years in South Africa and what led him to become the Mahatma. So actually the fun fact and fascinating fact here, sir, is that the most filmed man of the last century, his career as a politician, as a person of the people, and his rise, the rise of Gandhiji in India, is also the rise of Indian cinema. So when Gandhiji returned from South Africa, Indian cinema was already 10 years into the making.
Not 10, only 2 years old.
1915, 4 years, yeah, 1911, so, 1915. So, okay.
It's 1913 was the first feature film.
Not 1911.
So 2 years only.
2 years.
Yeah.
So, let us, sir, if you can throw some light on, because the silent cinema of pre-independence, colonial India, played a huge role in the freedom movement. So since then, Gandhi has been filmed, not just as documentary and newsreel, but also as feature film. So could you just tell us about both genres?
Yeah, and so that's another interesting kind of connection in the sense that, the first kind of footage, reported footage filmed on Gandhiji is 1912. And that was the time when he was in South Africa. And he had invited his political mentor, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, to Johannesburg. And it is that at the reception, they both are filmed. And that is the possibly only footage of Gopal Krishna Gokhale available. And that is the first footage of Gandhiji, where he is coming
up. That itself causes
and that too in a country, again, South Africa, which itself was a very nascent, film industry. So now just imagine a man from a foreign country, is being filmed in South Africa. That is something unthinkable now. And I write about it and how it was, traced and how it was preserved. All these things, all these stories are there. Now that is the 1912. Now Gandhiji comes back to India in 1915, and just 2 years back, Dada Saheb Phalke made Raja Harishchandra. So this is again a parallel kind of a journey of the Indian freedom struggle as well as our own Indian film industry, and it's a very kind of a integral kind of thing which we go along, and that's why in fact I consider him to be a major newsreel star. Yes. Gandhi to be the major newsreel star of that generation, because the kind of footage, not only by Indian companies, but also the Hollywood and the British, they have so much of extensive footage have been filmed when he was alive. So this is a very interesting, again, kind of journey in terms of the technology, in terms of the other major milestone, in the Indian film industry. For example, the Indian censorship started in 1920, August 1920. Whereas the first film which was banned is Bhakta Vidur, is 1921. Just few months after the censorship system comes into India, and this has a very close connection with Gandhiji. Because Bhakta Vidur, the character of Vidur, is clearly was model on Gandhi. The character wears khadi, he wears Gandhi cap, and after some shows, people started going and attending the shows, and then only the censor board realized that there is something amiss, and then they said that it is not Vidur, it is Gandhiji, and the film was banned. Yes. So that is the first film to be banned under the censorship system in India. So this is a very interesting kind of a thing.
Yes. And in those days, even Indian companies, because they were so excited with the development of cinema in India, and it happened in Maharashtra. So wherever Gandhi went, there used to be these small reels called topicals. Yeah. They were not called news reels, or so there were so many companies. So could you name a few companies?
Well, there's Falke's Hindustan, cinema company, then Kohinoor, yes. The one who made Bhakta Vidur. Then there was Madan's Theatre in Kolkata. So all these things, Saurashtra Film Company, so all these were, small kind of companies based in Mumbai, Kolkata. So they kind of started, putting together these small...
film reels also.
Yeah, maybe a few...
One reel film.
One reel film, one reeler, two reeler, which... some of you might be aware that they used to be shown before the actual film screening. And that was the practice even after independence in the film division documentaries, you were there. So these were the, kind of footages which were shot on Gandhi.
So those kind of small news reels or topicals, they were completely reality TV of today, if we can say it's real. The camera would follow Gandhiji wherever. So, and he was the person, Gandhiji did not like cinema at all. He disliked being filmed. He disliked making himself into a character. But he allowed the filming to happen. So what was that conundrum, sir?
Well, I think, his dislike for the cinema as a medium, I feel, this is, in my view, it is somewhere, which comes from the, control of the senses. He was, raised from that kind of a, background that you have to control your senses, and that's why he felt that, entertainment, and he has said that cinema has no value for the education. He felt that it is a waste of time, and somehow these initial views which he formed, and this was again without watching cinema, which was bizarre, and if you study Gandhiji's life, there are some issues on which he has changed opinions, as he grew. But this particular he refused to.
Firm to his decision.
Firm. He was very firm on that, but at the same time, you have to understand that he is considered one of the best political communicator as well. And he edited journals, he edited newspapers, he gave numerous interviews to the media. So he was possibly, I think, aware about the impact, because cinema was a new tool of the century, and the power of the medium he was aware. So he allowed on two conditions, because he didn't like the flash bulbs. Those times the technology was such that the photographer or they used to use the flash bulbs. So he didn't like that light which used to come. So he didn't like that flash bulbs, and he put a condition that whatever he was doing, nobody should disturb that work. So you can be at a certain distance and maybe film him. In my view, these two allowances which he gave has made the humanity richer.
Yes, because as soon as the political movement and the freedom movement in India took shape and form and took momentum as well, the film companies in England sent their representatives to India, and wherever Gandhiji went, they would follow Gandhiji. Now that was such a difficult task for those poor Britishers, because Gandhiji's pace, and wherever he went into dusty villages without any modern day conveniences of that time, but because of the power of the personality, the British cameramen also were exasperated, but they did not let go of the opportunity to actually film history in the making. They realized that, and therefore we are, as you said, the richer, because we have those newsreels to watch even today. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another thing. Because when we draw this parallel journey between the freedom struggle and cinema, the earlier freedom struggle before Gandhi's was elitist in a way. It was in the boardroom and all. But Gandhiji brought the common man.
Common man. So it touched every single life.
Yeah. So in a way, those rallies, the mass rallies, the people in the rural areas, I think it was a ready-made material for the visual medium.
Yes.
So there was a crowd, there was a hustle bustle, there were all those things which was, I think, was ready-made material for these newsreels. There was a that content which they were looking for.
There was a spectacle in the making.
Exactly.
It was spectacular.
Exactly.
And it was a spectacle which even the nascent movie industry of the world, it was just a very young industry worldwide. And fortunately for us also in India, immediately because of Dada Saheb Phalke, we had that opportunity of taking forward that industry. So this kind of spectacular imagery, nowhere in the world you had such thousands of people
exactly
follow one man.
And exactly, and that's the thing, because cinema is such a powerful medium for a country of that time where most of our population was illiterate. So the cinema was one where they were taking the visuals all in the villages and the rural area. And a perfect example is Dandi Yatra. And the kind of footage is there on Dandi Yatra, and people send their crew. Some of you, if you go on YouTube, some footage is available. You would actually see those trucks which were carrying those cameras on the
tops.
And they're filming. So they are so that's the kind of draw for these camera people on the crew. And so they went wherever. And I have one chapter on the first talkie interview, how it happened and all. But before that, again, when he went to England to attend
for the round table conference.
Yeah, round table conference.
In 1931.
That's another kind of interest.
A frenzy. In fact,
frenzy, exactly.
The mill workers in England, we have seen those visuals, we have seen those reels. They flocked to Gandhiji because the women especially felt that he was their savior.
So that's the another thing. Like I was earlier talking about the technology part.
Yes.
Since the earlier era was silent era, now the sound comes. I don't know how many of you are aware. Can anybody tell me which is the first talkie film in India? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's 1931. So 1931, this movie gets released in March 1931, and just 1 month after, Fox Movie Tone, a leading that time one of the most leading film company from Hollywood, they come to India and they want to interview India. And that time Gandhiji was staying in a village called Borsad, which is of the in the hinterland, a dusty village. And they reached there, because the technology, the picture and sound technology was primitive. There was huge equipments, so they carried on bullock cart and they reached there and they interview him.
Yes.
So and this is just 1 month after the sound technology comes in India. So this interview happens in April 1931. The next day, New York Times take note of this particular interview and they report that this is a victory of cinema industry. Yes. So that's the kind of power and
power.
Both of the medium as well as the man.
And therefore, today's, we know that phrase very well, the medium is the message. So the medium there really was the message of the times. Where would the Indians of the rural countryside, where did they see these newsreels? Did they get to see them at that time, and where?
Exactly.
If they were also the characters in that newsreel, in terms of the crowd, so did that crowd get to see that?
Exactly. So I've given some figures of the kind of people it was reaching, not only in India but across the world. Because I think he was a global leader by the time he came on the scene, and after his Dandi Yatra and his attendance in second roundtable conference, because I mentioned an incident about just after the Dandi Yatra is over. There is this radio show in UK which is there, and there is this woman who has heard about Dandi Yatra, and she comes to that radio show and she shouts that remove salt tax. That's
that's the kind of message which has reached the foreign.
In 1930s, to reach such kind of level was really something.
Was again spectacular. I can only think of that word.
And nowadays, though, there is this entire attack on the private lives. Yes. In terms of the television. It goes to the bedroom. But this particular journey which he underwent from Bombay to London on that INS Rajputana ship.
SS Rajputana.
So here he has been filmed shaving.
Yes.
And that was the time I write, because Gandhiji, as we see or as we imagine, was always surrounded by people. But here on this particular journey, he is a kind of alone. There are private moments. He's watching, standing on a ship deck, looking through the horizon and all that. And this is a handiwork of James Mills. He was. We must thank him. The kind of footage he has filmed. But as he reaches England, the place where he was going to stay, 3 newsreels were made on that house where he was going to stay. So like in today's, TV news, you show that,
outside the exterior of the house.
In fact, they show what Gandhiji was to see from the room he was going to stay. So this was a kind of,
that was a novel way of looking. That's a novel perception.
Exactly.
Also. So imagine the camera angles.
Exactly. So this happened only with Gandhi, and that's what.
So
is
his
really
popularity, cinema, world cinema, and Indian cinema was also the reason why his popularity was recorded, and we have it. So it's such a fascinating thing. As I'm talking to you, I can remember the rooms in the National Film Archives and how they have been stored. So he's also been instrumental in preserving our Indian heritage in terms of film. So can you just tell our audience what kind of the terminology of the films, the stock, the raw footage, or what are some of the terms which we don't have anymore?
We need to have a different full session on that, because such a vast topic. But yes, but
it's important.
Yeah, exactly.
It's archival history.
And preservation is such an important area, and unfortunately, we as a culture has really kind of ignored it. For example, cinema, is a slice of our history. We say that it's a mirror of society, but whatever is reflected in cinema, we need to preserve that cinema. Just to contextualize it, I will tell you one statistics.
Yes.
We were talking about the silent cinema and talkie cinema. From 1913 to 1931 in India, almost 1,350 silent films were made. 1,350.
Wow.
And what we have today is just 30 films. Now just imagine the kind of, heritage we
Loss.
have lost. So, it is very important to preserve this cinema. And I believe, and for a country like India, who produces the largest number of films,
Even today.
even
Yes.
today, it is much more important. Otherwise, and what is history? What is
After all.
history if it is not available? The entire history writing would be, written on what is available sources. And if the sources are not at all available, then what to make? So I think it is a very collective kind of responsibility, collective cause. Not only one institution.
No,
Obviously,
no.
yes, there is a specialized institution, but I think we need to join hands, and then only it will be possible.
In fact, there is a lovely story in the book as to how and where the efforts to unearth rare footage or reels were discovered. While conducting his research, I believe there is a mention of how certain footage was found in Manibhavan.
Yeah, no,
and
in
then
Mumbai,
before
not
that,
in, yeah.
And before that in a temple that story, sir.
So, this again, I would say it's a coincidence, because when I started researching this book, we, as a part of the work we do, we have many informer sources, spread across the country. And I got a, call from somebody I know, and he said that there is some footage cans, as we call it, tin cans. So, in central Mumbai, in Dadar, there was this warehouse where these cans were located. I myself
You have
kind
seen
of
it, sir.
rushed
Yes.
there, and only Gandhi was written
Gandhi
on
was
those tins. And there were 30
Imagine.
such cans.
30 cans, oh
and
my God.
and I was so curious. I immediately went back and I watched it one after another. And let me tell you that there's one of the most enjoyable time I had watching those grainy footages. And what were they? They were all unedited shots.
Unedited, raw
So
stock.
what we see in documentaries is edited one, but these were unedited, which have been left out.
So those were 16 millimeters.
16 millimeters, and such an important footage. So that's another kind of thrill.
It's a thrilling moment to discuss.
And-
It's like an
and-
archaeological discovery.
And
almost.
what I discovered was that there were many such footages which were not in public domain.
No.
And I have written about that, and I'm hopefully now, after digitization, they will come in public.
It is in the
domain.
process of
Yes,
being
we have a big project called National Film Heritage Mission,
Yes.
where we are digitizing films, and I'm sure this will be part of that. And somehow later there will be a portal where all these footages will be available for people to watch.
Yeah. So moving on, not just in silent cinema when sound came. So obviously many regional languages also
Yeah.
took up filmmaking, and not surprisingly, Gandhi was featured in those, both in fictional narration as well as non-fictional. So a little bit about the regional cinema which represented Gandhi.
Yeah, so when I talk about Gandhi, this is a real footage. But at the same time, the early cinema directors, many of them, they were having the nationalist tendencies.
Yes.
They somehow wanted to portray our freedom struggle. Obviously, it was not possible to do it directly, so indirectly. So how you will do it? So they took these values on principles which Gandhiji believed in.
Which were
And they
ahimsa.
kind of themed it in their stories.
In their fiction.
Yeah, so it could be khadi,
Yes.
it could be village development, it could be Hindu-Muslim unity, it could be widow remarriage,
Yes.
alcohol,
Ban on alcohol.
all those
Were woven into the story.
woven into this, and they kind of somehow or other, charkha, all those things, footages, or the stories, they
woven around
woven
this.
around, and name it, Tamil, Telugu, Marathi, Bengali, all those on that era, 40s and 50s. Many of them, they really kind of made use of this opportunity, and they depicted Gandhiji's values and principles.
And that's why even in silent cinema and afterwards, mythologicals were so important, because through showing mythology, you could weave in Gandhian principles, and then the government couldn't ban it at that time. So we have signposted Gandhi, literally, in every decade. Could you tell us something about A.K. Chettiar, who made the first biopic of Gandhiji when Gandhiji was alive?
Yeah, that's another, I would say, fantastic kind of story. And in fact, my book is dedicated to two people. One is Motilal Kothari, we would talk about later, but Mr. A.K. Chettiar. Here is a Tamil young man who is trained in photography in New York, and he's obviously a follower of Gandhi, and he decides to come back to India, and he decides to mount a film on Gandhi. So what he does, he kind of goes around the world sourcing the footage from whichever archives he can, possibly trace, and put together almost 50,000 feet of film where Gandhiji is there. And this is 1940, 1939-40. Now this was such a brave attempt. At least in my knowledge, there is no other comparable example of making a biographic documentary, on a living person. The next close example is John Lloyd, who was later became British Prime Minister. But that movie got released after, in 70s or 80s, not in his time. So this is a very unique kind of example that, so what you were mentioning about those temples is such that because, okay, now the movie was made, the film was made, but to showcase it means you would be inviting a band, because here is a Gandhi is a hero. So after initial some screenings, because that time, at least in some provinces, there was a Congress government, in the provincial, system. There was this 1937 election. So the sympathetic government.
Yes.
So they passed, the censor board passed it and they allowed the screenings, but afterward again there was a change of power. So they decided to lie low, and all these reels were kind of stored in temples and mutts in South India. And just one day before our independence, that is 14th August 1947, there was this again rescreening of this film in Delhi. So such an interesting, and now there is an abridged version of this film available on YouTube. Not full footage is available, but abridged version is available. So this is a fantastic documentation. And I would just cite one example that early interview is a part of, early footage is part of this particular film. But there was one, and that's why I always say that how Gandhiji was popular and to what extent is that there is one incident, in that particular, footage where, when he was searching, he reached Rome. There was an archive in Rome, and he was looking for a footage. So there was one footage which was marked Gandhi, G-H-A-N-D-I. Gandhi, not Gandhi. So obviously he thought there is a misspelling. So, he was very, very happy that there could be Gandhi in the footage. So he watched it. Unfortunately, this was the name of the Italian foreign minister, and he had gone to visiting New York. So that is the footage. Now just imagine when he reached there, this Italian foreign minister in America, there was a full crowd, to welcome him, and he was not knowing what on earth. So many people were there to welcome him, and then it came to know that people mistook him for Mahatma Gandhi. And that's why they had assembled in such large numbers. So that's another, such stories, fantastic stories.
So quickly, I'll take you forward to post-independence. If we have all watched Attenborough's Gandhi. So post-independence, Gandhiji was so close to us that even Pandit Nehru said that it is not possible to make a film on Gandhi. Not possible, though Mr. A.K. Chettiar also took it, I mean, how many years? It was difficult to make a feature film length. In fact, I believe you need a Cecil B. DeMille to make an epic for Gandhiji's life. Yet Attenborough was able to. But in all films depicting and Attenborough's Gandhi as well, the first sequence is about the 3 shots. So 2 films were made which could not be shown. One was 5 past 5, and the other was 9 hours
to Rama.
Ram. So, very quickly on that, before we move to the modern day representations, and then we open the
Yeah, so
for questions.
that's another kind of interesting scenario. After Gandhiji is gone,
Yes.
there are this many efforts which were made to make a biopic on Gandhi. In fact, Attenborough's Gandhi's these and that's the another thing. Motilal Kothari,
Motilal
a
Kothari
man who had no cinema background, no knowledge of industry, but he is a obviously keen follower of Gandhi, and he thinks that Gandhiji's story need to be told in a grand way, and what better medium than the cinema. And so he approaches Attenborough. Attenborough that time he's just an actor. He's not a director. Louis Fisher, whose seminal biography is one of the most well-known biography of Gandhi. He gives the book on one nominal 1 rupee copyright to Kothari ji and says that you make a film.
Yes.
And that's the story, early 1960s. Before that, Mr. Kothari had approached V. Shantaram as well
Shantaram
to
as
make a
well,
film
and
on
he
Gandhi. But somehow that couldn't be made.
couldn't take off.
So all these efforts, and ultimately 1982 is the one which resulted. But before that, curiously, two films came which were focused on Gandhiji's assassination. And one is this 9 Hours to Rama, made by Mark Robinson, in 1963, which was based on Robert Walpert, one of the eminent historian, his book. This is based on a story taken from, told from, Mr. Godse's point of view. So Gandhiji figures very little, in the film, and so obviously, it was banned. But if somebody is interested, it is now available on YouTube, so you can watch it. But that's the thing. So Gandhiji comes very little in that. It's told from a completely different point of view. But what I wrote in the book is that so, after Gandhi is gone, there was this halo about Gandhiji is not there. So you now you are looking at Gandhiji as a human.
As a human being.
So, that obviously he's a saint for many, but at the same time, Gandhiji as a human. So that's the another interest. And in 1969, in Gandhiji's birth centenary, there is this film called At 5 past 5.
Yes.
A very brave and very innovative attempt, again, focused on
his
assassination, where there is this mock courtroom trial. There are these 4 conspirators who are going to kill Gandhiji, but Gandhiji is not shown at all in he's figurative, and one of them backs out, and he says that our opposition is not to the man, to his ideology. So why should they kill man? And that's how then they hold a mock trial, and all the usual allegations which are leveled against Gandhiji, they are thrown, and there is a armed janta in the audience, and they clap with Gandhiji's answers, or ultimately, eventually. But this was a English film and 1 hour film, and obviously it couldn't be shown in a normal exhibition circuit.
Private screenings.
Only private screening was possible. Not many people have seen, but it won International Gandhi Award in the International Film Festival of India also. But nobody has seen. So they were very
nobody
brave.
gets access to
Yeah,
it. But
so
these were 2 attempts. It's for the record. They were made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we have reimagined, and we continue to imagine Gandhiji and reimagine him. We continue to wonder what he would have done had he been alive today. And we have Raju Hirani creating such characters. We have so much controversy around the filming of Gandhiji. We love to hate him, and we love to admire him, but we cannot escape him. So what kind of... I believe in 2011, the renowned Girish Kasaravalli was disturbed. He was disturbed when Anna Hazare was in the news. So why was he so disturbed, sir? And what happened after that?
That's the thing. These debates, they happen time and again, whether Gandhiji is relevant or not. And Gandhiji has proven wrong every time. So to these naysayers. So, in 2011, when this movement happened, and Girish Kasarwal is one of the most preeminent, very well decorated, multiple national award winning filmmaker. And he was really kind of perturbed about what is happening, about, in the name of values and principles which were, project in the name of Gandhi. So he kind of this reimagination, and his thing was that Gandhiji's values and principles are are very essential for the survival of mankind. It is survival. It is essential for the sustainable development of the planet. So with this theme, he made this film called Kurmavatar.
Kurmavatar.
And this film came in 2013, and to me this is one of the finest depiction of Gandhi on screen. And interestingly, he has used film within film, the approach film within film. So in that film, there is a telefilm or television serial being made, and the character who is portraying Gandhiji, he's not available, or something happens. So there is a man who is chosen to play the character of Gandhi. He is almost on the verge of retirement, a government clerk, a lookalike of Gandhi, and he is roped in.
And it is a familiar trope, be it in cinema or in literature, to have a novel within a novel or a film within a film.
Exactly.
It works.
Yeah. And this man, again, who he has not seen a film, he's like Gandhi, he's not seen a film, he has no kind of pleasures in life, and no acting experience. So, and then once he starts acting in that serial, slowly he starts imbibing the Gandhian values, and how his personal transformation happens. And that is a very difficult journey, because if you want to imbibe Gandhiji's values in one's personal life, it would be difficult. You have to pay a price, and that's what it happens in the film. So and that's what Kasarwalli is trying to say, that not the man, the values and principles, they are more important. And that analogy of Kurmavatar. Kurma, he on his back, he kind of takes the pressure of the entire world. So like that, Gandhian values are kind of as a motive, to the mankind. So that's what my last chapter is about.
Yeah. So we are really running out of time. We want to open up but one last thing which I would like to sum up this with. So Shyam Benekal has written a foreword to this book. Your book was released, I think, by Adur Gopal Krishnan. And recently on the 29th of January, as recently as that, there was a formal release of the book again at the National Film Archives, where Dilip Prabhavalkar was there, and Bhalchandra Nemade. Also, he happened to meet sir, and he was kind enough to come. And these two gentlemen, the Dilip Prabhavalkar, the renowned and very veritable actor, a venerable actor, has played Gandhiji. So what did they say about the book, and how has the book been received? What kind of scholarship? There's immense scholarship in this book. There is the bibliography itself runs into many pages. And this book is not just for the academics. Sir's language and style in the book is completely for the general reader. I mean, I'm sure the conversation around this book has made you realize that it is not a heavy book at all, yet it is filled with facts, figures, anecdotes, personal reminiscences from the people concerned and through the film. So what did these critics, maybe like Shamla Vanarse, who else, whoever has seen the book, how did they react to this book?
Well, just launched, so I'm kind of waiting for the many reactions. But when I right from the inception, when I was because I talked to Dilip Prabhavalkar also, as a part of the book, what was his experience in playing reimagined Gandhi, and he admitted that for an actor there are some roles which stick. And this was one role, it stuck to him. So, and when he kind of went through the book, he was really, amazed to an extent. He had obviously read Louis Fisher's biography in preparation of, his role. So he was amazed, by the way Gandhiji has been filmed. Obviously, Nemade sir said, ki bring in immediately, translate it into Marathi. So yes, Gandhiji is, I would say that he's a slow and steady person. He would take time to percolate, but at the same time, I'm not an academic, so this book is meant for whosoever is interested in Mahatma Gandhi, whosoever is interested in Indian cinema, and whosoever is interested in history, Indian freedom struggle. So,
As well as film studies.
I don't know, but so that's why my target audience is general reader because and my proposition is that Gandhiji was an integral part of Indian cinema. He is and he will remain. And I give two examples for that. When I mentioned the note, obviously when we go and watch cinema films, while buying ticket, we give the note, and as of now, only Gandhiji's image is the photo is there on. So we are, going for a pleasure which Gandhiji refused to engage into. So that's another kind of paradox.
It's a paradox. So on that note, I throw open
Yeah.
the conversation to the audience. Thank you so much, Prakash sir. Superb.
Pleasure.
Yeah, questions.
Sir, you have written a book on Mahatma Gandhi on cellulite. So, on that note, I would like to ask you, what are your views on the recent movie Gandhi and Godse a Yudh?
Well, to be frank with you, I have not seen that movie, and so it will not be proper for me to comment on that movie. But what, in fact, I have written while I was in the last stage of writing. There was another movie announced which was supposed to have been directed by Mahesh Manjrekar, again concerning Godse, and I have written. This is again my interpretation that Gandhiji would have laughed at such kind of depictions, because he was he believed in openness, he believed in exchange of ideas, he believed in the theme of inclusiveness, and he was after all a human being, so the movies which we are not touched upon in this conversation, there are many movies which are made on his relationship with sons. There are several topics to some might say gray areas. So after all, he's a human being, and why not explore them also? So he would have laughed or he would have enjoyed, with such depictions.
Sir,
Yeah, there is this incident which I have written about when Gandhiji met Charlie Chaplin. He didn't know who Charlie Chaplin was, but when told that his movies make millions laugh and it is mostly for the working class, so he agreed to kind of meet Charlie Chaplin. And there is a footage, not actual footage of meeting, but there is a footage of they arriving separate cars to that particular house where they were supposed to meet. And I have written about that incident, how the news spread and how the camera people congregated on that occasion, and they, because of the crowd, they couldn't get the place to put the camera. So that's the thing. But during the discussion, because obviously there are these differing opinion about Gandhiji's opinion about the machines, but he was per se not opposed to the machines, but he said that not at the expense of the general common employment. So these were the discussion points in between these two. And this is my conjecture that few years later Charlie Chaplin made the movie called The Modern Times, and where he kind of tries to show that this machine is for the people, not at the expense of people. So this is my conjecture.
yeah, Prakash sir, I'm Prantik. I teach in a college in Hislop, and one of our favorite subjects often is Gandhi in a paper called Culture Studies. Now there's an interesting bit of an essay written by somebody named Shahid Amin, who brings two things together. One is, of course, motion pictures, and the other is locomotion. Now, the interesting thing that what you mentioned in 1915 and 1916 is what Shahid Amin talks about. The start possible because of two kinds of motion. One was locomotion, and the other was cinema. With all the research that you have done on the making of Gandhi or Mahatma in celluloid, from let us say Attenborough's Gandhi, or even before that, Robert Volpe, Attenborough's Gandhi to, let's say, Gandhigiri, right? Do you think that there is a kind of a demythification of Gandhi that has happened, and why so?
Well, I have written about that. In fact, when Richard Attenborough's Gandhi came, so this was a kind of a biography. So a full story is told for the audience. So there was now no need to tell the story again, the full story. So what you do from the filmmaker's point of view, you take particular incidences, you particular chapters from his time in South Africa, then his childhood. There is another film in Kannada. Then yeah, so then this there are many biopics on other leaders which I have referred to, where Gandhi again comes as another character, co-character. So like Ambedkar, Savarkar, Patel, all those biopics. And then these relationships, Gandhi my father, maine Gandhi ko kyun nahi mara, all those, this thing, because this halo is now gone, and rightfully so, because after all he's a human being with all strengths and flaws. So why not focus on them and reimagine, kind of examine him, and that's how reimagining also. So this Gandhigiri is again reimagine how Gandhiji would have responded to the present problems. So what would be that take on? So all these has happened, and that locomotion is another interesting thing. I have written briefly about that Gandhiji always traveled in third class, and there are several visuals of Gandhiji traveling in those trains. In fact, there is another author in Marathi. He happens to be a locomotive pilot. Sorry, he's a motorman, and Mr. Ganesh Kulkarni, and he's extensively researching on Gandhi and railways. And my chapter's name is God Needs No Sleep. Because in those times, without any communication, without any mobile phones or information, people used to wait for Gandhiji's train to arrive at a certain station, and they used to stop the train irrespective of Gandhiji is resting or sleeping. And their argument was God needs no sleep, and he has to give darshan. So this demythification, yes, that is, I think, is happening, and is most welcome.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yes, bani hai. In fact, it is there. Yeah.
नाटक भी है.
The author is available for interaction after the session as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, we have a painting prepared by a young artist, Arnav Gaikwad from Alag Angle community. He has prepared this painting customized to your book.